Ms. Miller, the whole prospect of a double docket just has us giddy up here. So you'll have to apologize for the late start. Good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Trobin, has anyone signed up for public comment? Thank you very much. And Ms. Miller, good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, let's dig in. Agenda item 3. I don't think we have any cases to reconsider.
Correct. No cases.
All right. Again, I just feel like we're missing out on an opportunity to have walk-up music for Ms. Turner. Tax liability cases under agenda item 4 is what we're going to look at, though. I think we have 1 case on 31 and 2 cases on docket 32.
Yes, sir, that is correct. 1 case on docket 31. It is TD 23-0130523. Commissioner Demerson,
I agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendation.
and Chairman Daniel.
I agree with staff recommendation.
Docket 32, 2 cases. The first one is TD 23-011-0423. Commissioner
I
Demerson,
agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendation.
Chairman Daniel.
I agree with staff recommendation.
And last is TD 23-016-0623. Commissioner
I
Demerson,
agree with staff recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff recommendation.
Chairman Daniel.
I agree with staff recommendation. Okay, fair housing cases.
No fair housing case.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 6, we have no wage claim cases pulled for docket 31 or docket 32.
Correct. None pulled for additional discussion, but you should have received the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 31 and 32.
I move we accept the staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on dockets 31 and 32.
And I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 31 and 32.
And I concur with chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 31 and 32.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Let's move now to agenda item 7, consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 31. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 2653432, Commissioner Demerson.
Due to the fact that the employer's timely protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback is in TWC records, what was overlooked by the chargeback unit and 3 appeal tribunal hearing officers, the employer is entitled to a review on the merits of the chargeback issue. The original determination that the employer filed a late protest to the NMPC was not only incorrect, but also completely without any legal basis and thus void. And so the employer's late appeal to the commission must be excused. Were we to ignore such a fundamental flaw in the case, and the employer were to take the agency to court, the case would not withstand the substantial evidence standard of review. Pursuant to the commission's authority under section 212.151A of the act, we should hold the employer's appeal to the commission timely, set aside all 3 appeal tribunal decisions, hold the employer's original protest to the NMPC timely, and resubmit the case on the merits of the chargeback issue.
The employer's appeal to the commission should be dismissed as late. The employer provided no reason for their late appeal, and there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules. The commission does not have jurisdiction due to the employer's late appeal. Dismiss the employer's appeal as late. Employer did not have good cause for AT2 and AT1. Late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remains charged.
Timely CA appeal, set aside the AT decision, set aside the chargeback liability decision, resubmit.
Just to clarify, is your vote that the response should be deemed timely and resubmit?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 2997796, Commissioner Demerson.
The AT decision is not supportable. This case fits into the pandemic-related misinformation category, even though the initial claim was filed 3 months before the pandemic, because the claimant's benefits did not begin until late May 2020 due to an intervening ineligibility on the part of the claimant that took a few months to resolve. That meant that the NMPC was mailed to the employer on May 21st, 2020, in the middle of the relevant pandemic period. The employer has consistently explained that it did not respond to the NMPC initially because it believed on the basis of public statements that no employer's account would be charged with benefits during the pandemic. Thus, the employer is entitled to the exception under Rule 32 relating to misinformation from TWC. The employer responded as soon as it became aware of the need to respond. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's protest to the NMPC timely and resubmit the case on the merits of the chargeback issue.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer filed a late response to the notice of maximum potential chargeback. There is no cause exception to the timeliness rules. Affirm the AT, late response to notice of maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remains charged.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3311610, Commissioner Demerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. I do not contest the good cause issue. As to the job separation, the credible evidence in this case establishes that the claimant was temporarily off from work and was provided a return to work date. While Commission President Appeal Number 86-02537-10-020-587 holds that a separation occurs when the temporary layoff begins. The precedent can be distinguished from the case before us since the temporary cessation of work was no longer in the present case than the one before us now. Since the claimant was provided a return to work date but failed to return, he voluntarily quit without work-connected good cause. We should therefore modify the AT decision. The claimant had good cause for his non-appearance, voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
The decision is not correct. Regarding the good cause issue, the claimant who lives in Mountain Time Zone mistakenly registered for the AT1 hearing in that time zone without realizing that the hearing was scheduled for the Central Time Zone. The confusion about the time zone difference provided the claimant with good cause for missing the AT1. Regarding the job separation, the evidence established that the employer temporarily laid the claimant off on 6/14/22. The employer did not offer the claimant any further work until at least 6/20/22. Since there was a layoff for over 3 consecutive work days without pay, the claimant experienced a discharge due to lack of work. Therefore, we should reverse the AT. Claimant had good cause for missing AT1, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, claim established good cause for AT1, no misconduct, chargeback, a memo to investigate the claimant's availability.
Short form dissent.
Thank you. I have your dissent and
Thank
we
you.
will send the memo, sir.
Case number 3318788, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant missed the first appeal tribunal hearing because she was working at a new job on the day of the hearing. Though she had been given permission to take time away from work to participate in the hearing, she became busy at work, causing her to miss the hearing. The claimant should not be penalized for prioritizing her new job responsibilities above participating in an unemployment hearing. Regarding the timeliness of the claimant's appeal to the AT, commission records established that the claimant filed a timely appeal via electronic correspondence on December 2nd of 2021. Reverse the AT, claimant established good cause for missing AT1, timely AT appeal, resubmit for merits testimony.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. Regarding good cause, the claimant missed the appeal hearing because she lost track of time and forgot about the hearing. This does not constitute good cause for the claimant's non-appearance. Regarding timeliness, the claimant's appeal was timely. As to the job separation, the weight of the available evidence establishes that the claimant quit her job to pursue other work. As such, the claimant quit without work-connected good cause. We should therefore modify the AT decision. The claimant did not have good cause for a non-appearance, timely claimant appeal, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, and overpayment.
Reverse the AT, claimant established good cause for AT1, timely claimant appeal, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3323318, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. While the claimant was attending school, the claimant testified that he misunderstood the claims examiner's question when providing his initial statements, and that his school schedule could be modified to allow the claimant to attend school online while working full-time. As the claimant's school did not prevent the claimant from finding or accepting full-time work, the claimant was available for full-time work. Reverse the AT, claimant is available for work.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The claimant was unavailable for work due to attending school. However, the claimant notified the commission on August 25th, 2022, that he changed his school schedule so he could attend classes online and that he is flexible to work anytime. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision. The claimant not available for work from July 3rd, 2022 through August 27th, 2022.
Reverse the AT, claimant is available for work.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3387686, Commissioner Demerson.
The employer's appeal to the commission should be deemed timely. The employer's appeal was submitted through TWC's UI submission secure form. This method of appeal is not listed as valid on the appeal tribunal decision itself. However, the employer's appeal should still be deemed timely since it was communication to the commission, which indicated the desire to appeal the adverse decision within the applicable appeal time frame. In this case, the commission should place greater weight on substance rather than form. Under certain circumstances, address changes submitted to the commission can be considered timely appeals if submitted within the applicable appeal timeframe by the commission rule. By extension, we should consider the employer's appeal to the commission as timely since it was sent to the commission within the applicable appeal timeframe with the desire to appeal an adverse decision. We should therefore hold that the employer filed a timely appeal to the commission and resubmit the case for merits testimony.
The employer's appeal to the commission should be dismissed as late. The employer's allegations in the appeal to the commission that they submitted an appeal within the appeal deadline is not persuasive. As the commission records show that the correspondence that the employer was referring to was submitted through the UI submission portal rather than the one that was approved appeals method. The UI submission portal specifically informs employers that it cannot be used to file an appeal. Since the employer was informed that the UI submission portal is not an approved appeal method, the employer was in no way provided with misleading information. Dismiss the employer's appeal as late, no misconduct, chargeback.
Late commission appeal, the AT decision remains in full force and effect.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3397260, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision should be modified. The claimant filed a valid continued claim dated 9/11/21. As he had been placed on unpaid leave as of 9/7/21. Regarding the work separation, the claimant was discharged for not supplying a physical copy of his Social Security card to the employer. The claimant worked for the employer for a few days before he was placed on unpaid leave because he was unable to obtain a physical copy of his Social Security card to complete the employment paperwork. The claimant had a scanned copy of his Social Security card and tried to get an appointment to obtain a physical card once he was notified of the need for one, but was unable to do so prior to the employer's deadline. Since the claimant was prevented from providing a physical copy before the employer's deadline by circumstances beyond his control, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Modify the AT, valid continued claim, no misconduct.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. First, I agree that the claimant filed a valid claim. Regarding the job separation, the claimant knew upon hire that he needed to provide a copy of his Social Security card. Because the claimant failed to comply with the employer's request, he mismanaged his position of employment and disqualification is appropriate. We should affirm the AT decision, valid claim, misconduct.
Affirm the AT, valid claim, misconduct.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Case number 3403014, Commissioner Demerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision concerning timeliness since the employer's appeal fell during the height of the pandemic when mail was consistently lost, misdelivered, and delayed receipt was habitual. It is unreasonable to conclude that the employer failed to timely receive the original determination. As such, the employer has overcome the presumption of receipt and the employer's appeal should be held timely. Concerning the merits, the claimant was separated based on an arrest for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Based on available court records, the commission should take administrative notice that the claimant pled guilty to the offense. Taking into consideration that the employer was a public school, the claimant's conduct outside of work, which entailed a crime of deadly violence and moral turpitude, was mismanagement of her position of employment. Finally, I agree that the claimant did not have reasonable assurance to return to work. As such, we should reverse the AT decision. Timely employer appeal, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed. The claimant did not have reasonable assurance and adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer filed a late appeal to the determinations. There was no good cause exception to the timeliness rule. Additionally, the separation was properly considered a discharge because the claimant resigned in lieu of discharge, as stated in the compromise, settlement, and release agreement. At the time of the discharge, there was no evidence that the claimant's off-duty conduct violated an employer's policy, and the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. The discharge occurred during the school term, and the claimant had no reasonable assurance of further work with the employer. Affirmed the AT, late employer appeal, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer, no reasonable assurance.
Modify the AT, timely employer appeal, claimant did not have reasonable assurance, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Case number 3425643, Commissioner Demerson.
We should remand this case to the appeal tribunal. Despite the lengthy hearing, the record was not adequately developed. First, the employer was not asked about the final incident that led to the claimant's discharge. In addition, no direct relevant testimony was taken from the claimant, and she was not questioned about the employer's allegations against her. Finally, insomuch as the claimant provided any testimony, the employer was not given the opportunity to cross-examine her. For these reasons, the case should be remanded to further develop the record.
The decision is correct. The employer's own witness gave contradictory testimony regarding the claimant's action. The claimant testified she stopped using personal funds to purchase food for the children that she was working with after being told to do so. And the evidence further established that the claimant obtained supervisor approval and submitted appropriate receipts for all her reimbursement requests. Therefore, the employer failed to establish that the claimant engaged in any misconduct. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Remand.
We'll remand the case. And you can short form dissent if you wish.
Okay, short form dissent, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Case number 3432387, Commissioner Demerson.
The commission should rehear this case. The employer alleged that they had a firsthand witness who could testify about the final incident, which led to the claimant's discharge. In addition, the employer stated that they had a policy regarding communication at the workplace, which is critical to understanding the nature of the claimant's separation. Accordingly, we should rehear this case to obtain testimony from the employer's firsthand witness and to review the employer's policy. Rehear.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged for her comments in online work chats. The employer provided no firsthand testimony about the details of the conversation or any disciplinary action that took place and failed to establish that the incident that led to the discharge. The claimant did not believe that her comments were inappropriate, and she was never given any verbal or written warnings. Therefore, the employer has failed to establish that the claimant's action constituted misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3441122, Commissioner Demerson.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant's civilian access card, CAC, was revoked by the employer's client, a military branch. The claimant knew that a valid CAC was a vital requirement of the job and that without it, she could not perform the duties of her job. The claimant's card was revoked after an investigation by the client into the claimant's actions while on the military base. Because the employer had no choice but to terminate the claimant once she no longer had access to the client's premises or computers, and the claimant lost her access due to her own actions, the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Accordingly, we should affirm the AT decision. Misconduct, no chargeback.
The AT decision is not correct. The employer discharged the claimant after its client revoked the claimant's required civilian access card. The employer provided no firsthand evidence of what led to the client's revoking the claimant's civilian access card. The claimant denied the allegations of misconduct, and the claimant testified that neither the employer nor the claimant or the client informed her of any accusations that led to her access card being revoked. The employer did not establish that the claimant was discharged for work-connected misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And that ends the pulled cases for docket 31. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 31.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 31, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 31.
And I second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 31.
And I concur with Chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 31.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you. Proceeding now to docket 32.
Case number 3126998, Commissioner Demerson.
The AT decision is partially supportable. I agree that the employer had good cause to miss the first hearing and would affirm that portion of the ruling. Concerning the timeliness of the protest issue, the employer has offered consistent and credible testimony that it did not receive the notice of maximum potential chargeback. The notice in this case was mailed on May 7th, 2020, which was definitely within the timeframe during which TWC and postal systems were still overwhelmed with the pandemic, and non-receipt of mailed items was unfortunately a fact of life for TWC, claimants, and employers. While it is possible that the employer's non-receipt of the NMPC was caused by a negligent employee, it is equally possible that in May of 2020, the NMPC simply never made it to the employer's office. There is sufficient evidence to accept the employer's testimony that it did not receive the notice and hold its protest timely. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision. The employer had good cause to miss the first hearing, hold the protest timely, and resubmit the case on the merits of the chargeback issue.
The AT2 decision is supportable. I will not contest that the AT decision on the good cause issue. There is no evidence of a timely response by the employer. The employer admits that their employee, who was tasked with responding to commission notices, was throwing away their mail and may have thrown out the notice of maximum potential chargeback. While it is unfortunate that their employee was mishandling their mail, there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rule, and the employer's testimony is insufficient to rebut the presumption of a timely receipt of the notice. Also, they made no allegation that their response was late due to misinformation regarding to the pandemic. As such, the employer cannot establish a timely response. Affirm the AT, good cause for missing the AT1 hearing, late response to notice of maximum potential chargeback. The employer's account remains charged.
Modify the AT, employer established good cause for AT1, timely response to the NMPC, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3137496, Commissioner Demerson.
The AT decision should be reversed. Just as in the companion case, the employer has offered consistent and credible testimony that it did not receive the notice of maximum potential chargeback. The notice in this case was mailed on June 11th, 2020, which was certainly within the time frame during which TWC and postal systems were still overwhelmed with the pandemic, and non-receipt of the mailed items happened to TWC claimants and employers. While it's possible that the employer's non-receipt of the NMPC was caused by a negligent employee, again, it is equally possible that in June of 2020, the NMPC simply never made it to the employer's office. There's sufficient evidence to accept the employer's testimony that it did not receive the notice and hold its protest timely. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision, hold the employer's protest timely, and resubmit the case on the merits of the chargeback issue.
The AT decision is supportable. There is no evidence of a timely response by the employer. The employer admits that their employee who was tasked with responding to the commission's notices was throwing away their mail and may have thrown out the notice of maximum potential chargeback. While again, it is unfortunate that their employee was mishandling their mail, there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rule, and the employer's testimony is insufficient to rebut the presumption of a timely receipt of the notice. Also, they made no allegation that their response was late due to misinformation regarding the pandemic. As such, the employer cannot establish a timely response. Affirm the AT, late response, notice of maximum potential chargeback. The employer's account remains charged.
Reverse the AT, timely response to the NMPC resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3350025, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant worked for a home health care agency, and when her client moved away, the claimant initiated the separation when she turned down a new client that was offered to her. The claimant had good cause for turning down the new client, as her commuting distance would have significantly increased, and the new client was not on her bus line. Due to the change in her hiring agreement, the claimant had good cause connected with the work for quitting. Affirm the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed. Per commission president, in the home health referral industry, the working relationship continues until one party clearly notifies the other that the working relationship is ended. Here, the claimant initiated the job separation by notifying the employer she would not accept the further work that she was offered. The employer provided testimony that the claimant refused the assignment because it was not on her bus line. There's nothing to suggest that the employer was responsible for providing the claimant transportation to work. As such, the claimant's refusal to accept the employer's offer of further work due to an apparent lack of transportation does not constitute good cause for quitting. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Modify the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
There's a majority vote that the claimant should receive benefits, but the section of law for the two commissioners, Commissioner Trevino and the chairman, differ. The chairman has used an MC, no misconduct, and Commissioner Trevino used VL, no good cause.
I'll agree with the chairman.
Okay, the ruling will be under no misconduct.
Correct.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 3361366, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not correct. Although the claimant's 6/19/20 appeal was submitted late due to the February 11th of 20 determinations at the issue in this case, the determinations involved a validity of claim issue. Therefore, since the appeal was filed within the same benefit year, a one-year exemption to the timeliness rule for cases fitting into the validity of claim category should be applied, and the claimant's appeal deemed timely under Rule 32I1. Reverse the AT, timely a claimant appeal, and resubmit for merits.
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed on timeliness. The underlying issue in this case is customary full-time hours, which can be construed as a validity of claim issue. Accordingly, the one-time exception to timeliness should be applied and the claimant's appeal should be deemed timely. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, timely claimant appeal, resubmit.
Reverse the AT, timely claimant appeal, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3401050, Commissioner Demerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant quit effective immediately without prior notice to the employer because she disagreed with the employer's vaccine policy. The governor's executive order and our own letter to Texas employers require employers to process exemption requests and objections to the vaccine. TWC even provided a vaccine exemption from a form for parties to use. Here, the claimant did not submit any type of exemption request and failed to give the employer an opportunity to consider her objection prior to quitting. Moreover, the employer's witnesses testified that the termination of employment was not a consequence of the policy. In fact, all employees were advised that they could continue to work remotely if not vaccinated. Thus, because the claimant quit without submitting an exemption request or notifying the employer of her objection to the vaccine policy, the claimant quit without good cause connected with the work. Reverse the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response. In the alternative, if my fellow commissioners disagree, the claimant could remain qualified for benefits, but we should protect the employer's account from charge because this job separation resulted from the COVID-19 natural disaster. Therefore, modify the AT decision, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback, disaster.
The AT decision is correct. The claimant supervisor was demanding that the claimant return to work in person at the same time the employer required COVID vaccinations for all in-person employees. This policy was contrary to the governor's order. Though the claimant personally objected to the vaccination until it was FDA approved, she did not think she would qualify for her employer's medical or religious exemptions and was concerned her request denial would result in her termination. Additionally, the claimant had originally worked in person prior to COVID and had not been hired subject to any vaccination requirements. Thus, this change in policy constituted a material change in her hiring agreement, and the claimant had good cause connected with the work to resign. Affirm the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3419088, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant worked for the employer for 10 years. While under oath, the claimant denied making any negative remarks about the employer and denied receiving warnings about any such remarks. The claimant also presented witnesses that corroborated his testimony that he was not making negative remarks about the employer. Additionally, the employer's vague allegations that the claimant made negative remarks and was not making production deadlines lack specificity and were insufficient to prove that the claimant violated the employer's policies or committed misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The employer stated that the final incident was when the claimant, a production manager, was fired for violating company policy and not meeting production deadlines. Specifically, the employer stated that the claimant was talking negatively about management to other employees. The claimant appeared to acknowledge in his own testimony that he was aware of the policy. Moreover, one of the employer's witnesses stated that she had witnessed the claimant receive verbal warnings about his negativity and witnessed the claimant making negative remarks about the company and its owner. As such, the claimant's actions constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 3425227, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant timely faxed their appeal to the commission and provided a successful fax confirmation sheet of his appeal. Regarding the separation, the claimant was clocking in properly. The claimant experienced computer system issues that prevented the claimant from logging in at his workstation or caused the claimant to be logged off without his knowledge. The claimant would notify management of his computer system issues. The claimant was not intentionally violating the employer's policies or stealing time when he was not logged in at his workstation due to the computer issues. The employer failed to provide sufficient evidence that the alleged policy violations and the claimant was never warned that his computer issues placed his job in jeopardy. Reverse the AT, timely appeal, no misconduct, chargeback.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. First, I agree that the claimant filed a timely appeal. Regarding the job separation, the claimant failed to comply with the employer's clock-in protocols. Although the claimant alleged that this resulted from internet issues, no IT service tickets were created to resolve the problem, and there was no evidence that the claimant had informed his manager that he was having connection issues. Thus, because the claimant did not follow the proper clock-in procedures on a regular basis, and this resulted in the claimant being paid for a time possibly not worked, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, timely claimant appeal, misconduct, no chargeback.
Modify the AT, timely claimant appeal, misconduct, no chargeback.
What was the chairman's vote again?
Modify the AT, timely claimant appeal, misconduct, no chargeback.
The same as yours,
Same
sir.
as mine, yes.
Yeah, short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3436391, Commissioner Demerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The claimant quit. The claimant testified that he was arrested at work. The claimant's testimony also reflects that he did not contact the employer until several days after he was arrested. Given those circumstances, it was reasonable for the employer to conclude that the claimant had quit. As such, the claimant's quitting was without work-connected good cause. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving.
The decision is not correct. The evidence presented established that the employer discharged the claimant based on the claimant having a pending criminal case, which was not related to his work. The claimant had not been found guilty of any criminal act or any other evidence of any work-connected misconduct on the claimant's part and was provided by the employer. Therefore, we should reverse the AT, no misconduct.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 3437968, Commissioner Demerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The claimant was aware that obtaining her jailer's license was a requirement for her position. The claimant had a specified amount of time to obtain her license, but failed to do so. Since the claimant did not comply with what amounted to a condition of continued employment, she was discharged for a reason that constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed. In the alternative, if my fellow commissioners are not of the opinion that misconduct had been established, I would also support a vote to rehear the case. The claimant stated that towards the end of her training period, she had 2 weeks left to complete her classes. Accordingly, we could conduct a rehearing to develop the record as to whether 2 weeks was a sufficient amount of time for the claimant to complete her classes. Rehear.
Just to verify, we are on 3437968.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. The AT decision is not correct. Though the claimant was made aware that she was required to complete training and obtain her permanent license to remain employed, the claimant could not complete the training because her supervisor had to set up the training for her, which the claimant supervisor did not do despite the claimant's request throughout her employment. Since the claimant was prevented from completing the training by the actions of her supervisor, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 3441911, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The employer alleged that the claimant threatened her supervisor, but the claimant provided sworn testimony denying the allegation of misconduct. Since the employer relied on a written witness statement in support of their argument, while the claimant offered credible firsthand testimony, subject to cross-examination, the employer has failed to provide sufficient evidence to establish that the claimant engaged in the alleged misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. While the claimant denies wrongdoing, the documentary evidence, it includes a notarized statement from the witness who heard the claimant threaten violence against her supervisor. Also included is the police report filed by the supervisor after conducting an investigation into the allegations. Because the employer had zero tolerance for workplace violence, the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. We should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Reverse AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3494443, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not correct. Though the claimant was sent instructions informing him of the need to continue filing payment requests while appealing his disqualification. The claimant did not understand these instructions, and despite having several conversations with commission representatives, he was never told by the representative that he needed to continue filing claims while appealing his disqualification. Because there was a delay of over a year in adjudicating the claimant's appeal to the disqualification, the claimant did not understand this requirement until the benefit year had closed. This delay in adjudicating the claimant's appeal of his disqualification constitutes commission misinformation sufficient to provide the claimant with adequate cause to backdate his continued claims. Reverse the AT, filing ineligible.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was provided information on multiple documents that instructed him to continue to file payment requests while his appeal was pending. Furthermore, no TWC representative instructed the claimant to not file his claim certifications during his appeal. Thus, since the claimant was instructed to continue filing his payment request and was neither misled nor misinformed by a TWC representative, the claimant has not established adequate cause for backdating his claim certifications. We should affirm the AT decision, filing not eligible from September 12th, 2021 through August 20th, 2022.
Affirm the AT, filing not eligible, September 2021 to August 2022.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And that was the last unemployment insurance case just pulled for additional discussion on docket 32. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 32.
I move we accept staff recommendations on remaining UI cases on docket 32, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 32.
Now, second the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting, is reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 32.
I concur with Chairman's motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 32.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of agenda items 3 through 7. We will take a short recess. Serious. All right, we're back. This is agenda item 8, distribution of RESEA performance outcome payments to local boards. I thought for a minute I was gonna have to do it, Mr. Cerna. It wasn't gonna be as good if we had to do it.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Suzette Robinson with the Workforce Division. Good morning, Mr. Cerna. Before you for consideration is a discussion paper on the distribution of a portion of the 2.29 million RESEA performance outcome payment to the boards based on providing services above DOL's threshold. DOL has set national RESEA program performance indicator as a means of measuring the quality of program implementation. The participation indicator is based on the percentage of claimants scheduled for RESCA that failed to report, and the service indicator is used to calculate the board's performance outcome payment is based on the percentage of claimants scheduled that received all the required services. Staff developed an outcome payment distribution methodology based on DOL's service indicator of 60% or greater and board's monthly service numbers for the most current RESCA performance period, calendar year 2022, to incentivize the boards. The table in the discussion paper distributes $15,000 to the boards for each month the threshold was met. In addition, in the last column of the table, staff recommends distributing $10,000 to each board to send one of their RESCA staff and 2 service providers to the mandatory pre-conference RESCA training day this fall. The training will provide them with tools to improve participation, compliance, and employment outcomes. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any comments or questions?
I was gonna say, Suzette, really happy to answer any questions that we have.
I heard
Absolutely.
genuine joy in her.
Enjoy.
I did.
But her walk-up was a little slow, so.
Yeah, you know, I think she's building suspense for a powerful discussion paper is what she's doing.
Okay. She's ready, though, I see.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I have no questions.
I don't have any questions, but I'd just like to say, thank you to all the workforce boards for all the hard work they put in every day. And congratulations to the boards for earning this award.
All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the distribution of a portion of the reemployment services and eligibility assessment program performance outcome payment in the amount of $1,870,000 to be allocated to the boards as described in the discussion paper and presented today by staff.
I second the motion.
It's been moved to second, motion carries. Thank you. This is agenda item 9, report on the transition from military service to employment.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Demerson, Commissioner Trevino, Mrs. Serna. For the record, I'm Bob Garrett, Director of the Texas Veterans Leadership Program. Texas Labor Code Chapter 302.020 requires the Texas Workforce Commission to submit an annual report on the transition from military service to employment to the Texas governor, lieutenant governor, and the legislature by the 1st of September. This year's report follows the standard layout that we've used for previous reports, including TWC's commitment in serving veterans. The report also highlights success at TWC and TWC partner veteran-related programs, and I would like to highlight just 3 real fast. One is Workforce Solutions Central Texas, partnering with Fort Cavazos, and they have served over 980 transition service members, military spouses, using the $8 million dislocated worker grant. Number 2 is Department of Labor awarding Workforce Solutions Borderplex $4.7 million for dislocated worker grant to retrain transition service members exiting from Fort Bliss. And number 3 is Fort Cavazos, and all the workforce partners up in Central Texas are working with Samsung in creating a 12-week pilot internship program focusing on advanced semiconductor manufacturing to train transition service members starting this fall. These are just 3 examples of many that are highlighted in the report. The final section lists the 5 most common transition military occupational specialties, industry-based certifications, and alignment with the military occupational specialties and their civilian occupations. There's no change from last year, going straight to the list. Number 1 is infantryman, rifleman. Number 2 is automated logistics and logistics across the board for every military branch. Number 3 is your healthcare specialists, medics, naval corpsmen, and aerospace medical service. Number 4, wheel vehicle mechanics, construction mechanics. And number 5, computer network support specialists, computer support programming, and information system technicians. Staff is seeking the commission's approval for this year's annual report for submission to the Texas governor, lieutenant governor, and the legislature. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, Bob, I continue to appreciate what you and the team are doing to help with the transition of military veterans. And then I want to applaud also the 3 that you singled out for the work that they're doing, Susan and a group with Central Texas and and the Borderplex as well. But all of those that are participating in this space, we appreciate all the work that they're doing.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
Commissioner Emerson.
No questions or comments. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the annual 2023 report on the transition from military services to employment for submission to the governor and legislature as recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
Motion carries. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 10, submission of the 2021-22 Equal Employment Opportunity Report.
Good morning.
Morning.
For the record, I'm Erin Humphreys. I'm currently serving as the interim EEO compliance monitor in the Civil Rights Division. So pursuant to Texas Labor Code Chapter 21, we're presenting this report to you today for your consideration and hopefully approval to provide the demographic information and analysis to the governor, the legislature, and the Legislative Budget Board. As you know, this report uses data from the Comptroller and the United States Census to provide the workforce composition of our state's civilian workforce board, of the state agency workforce, and our state agency's new hires. I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Are there any comments or questions?
None, I love Aaron's name.
Sorry,
I love your name, Aaron and Aaron.
I know it's a great
You
name,
like that name?
the best.
All right. No other questions, comments?
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the hiring practices and equal employment opportunity report for fiscal years 2021 through 2022 for submission to the governor and legislature as recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
It's been moved second. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just seeing how far you'd go. Agenda item 11, board nominations. I mean, you seemed confident. I mean, ready to go. It's a shame we didn't have walk-up music for you.
I'm glad you didn't do that to me, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Shanta Williams with the Workforce Development Division. And today, before you for consideration, we have Workforce Board nominations for Workforce Solutions, Borderplex, Cameron County, Gulf Coast, and Central Texas. Staff recommends approval on the presented nominees, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
None here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the local workforce development board member nominees presented today for the following workforce solution areas: Borderplex, Cameron County, Gulf Coast, and Central Texas.
I second the motion.
And the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, unemployment trust fund balance.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Chris Nelson, Chief Financial Officer. This morning, you have an update on the projected balance as of October 1st, this coming October 1st, of the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. And I'll walk you through the schedule. We started last October 1st with the balance of 2.13 billion. We're expecting revenue of 2.28 billion through September 30th. And expecting a payout of about 2.4 billion, leaving a net balance on October 1st of just over $2 billion. I will say this also has an estimate for the non-LEU COVID chargebacks that are being processed. We still haven't seen the impact and the revenue, but it still has an estimate in here. So it could be, over the next couple months, it could be 2 months after that, but we do have an estimate in here to reduce that. So
So it's like a range,
yes,
sort of an ish number.
sort of like an ish.
All right, I'm familiar with that strategy.
We do project even at 2 billion, we project to be above the floor of 1.3 billion and certainly below the ceiling, which would be 2.6 billion projected at October 1st. On the ETI schedule at the very bottom, we started with $112 million. We're projecting 130 million, 129 million in revenue. We do have an increase of the skills appropriation. So in the 88th legislative session, the skills appropriation was increased. So the negative 28.4 is the transfer to the skills appropriation from the ETI account since we are above the floor. And that would leave an ending balance of 213 million in the ETI account as of October 1st. That's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
Of course, I love the shape that we're in. Thanks for the report.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. No comments or questions.
Thanks, sir. So I've got agenda item 13, fiscal year 2024 allocations and funding distributions for local workforce development areas.
Again, for the record, Chris Nelson, Chief Financial Officer. This morning, I'm requesting approval for the remaining FY 2024 program allocations in the amount of $74,481,190 for TANF choices, $14,381,267 for SNAP ENT, and $394,769 for employment services, consistent with TWC rules and Chapter 800 on allocations. Also included in the packet is a distribution of $254,000 for migrant seasonal farm worker outreach services and $1,322,895 in smaller workforce area funding. Consistent with previous allocations, the small board funding is pulled from the amounts available to allocate for each program, with the exception of WIOA, which uses the prior WIOA rapid response balances we have available. Also of note, there is no estimate for SNAP ABOD funding, and that's able-bodied adults without dependents. The Food and Nutrition Services did not award TWC or the state of Texas any ABOD funding in 2023. So we don't have an estimate for 2024. And if we do get funding, we wouldn't know until later this spring. So there's no estimate in this packet. And that's all I have.
None here.
None here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2024 block grant allocations and distribution as recommended today by staff.
I second the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an executive director's report today? Is there any other order of business come before the commission?
None here.
None here.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second the
It's
motion.
been moving second to adjourn, and we're adjourned. Thank you.